We all love the animated fantasy world of Disney, with movies like The Lion King and The Little Mermaid defining our childhoods. Disney's always been a wonderful getaway to a whole new world, so who would want to critically analyze it? Unfortunately, we did, and as it turns out, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Here are some of the secrets we found out. First up, Disney World as a cemetery? Turns out, there's definitely such a thing as loving Disney too much. Apparently, people try to bury their children or leave their remains at Disney World. Once, grieving parents attempted to empty some of their child's remains in the haunted house. Why is that so much scarier than the haunted house itself? Naturally, the security camera footage caught them and sent the whole park into a panic. Everyone evacuated, thinking it was some security threat, when it was actually an attempt to turn the park into a cemetery. Obviously, Disney now vehemently advises against using the park as a burial site, although that hasn't stopped people from trying. Next, Cinderella Castle Hotel Suite. Not only is Cinderella Castle a great spot for taking pictures, because it was made facing south so the sun is never directly behind it, it also has a secret hotel suite. If you look closely, you might catch a glimpse of stained glass windows at the top of the castle. Of course, it's much harder to get an invite, as much as we wanted to get one. Only special guests are invited to stay in it. The room definitely sounds like the stuff of our childhood fantasies. And now, 1-800-HOTLINE. Let's face it, children's media needs to be censored, or the channel would be a bloodbath on the hands of angry parents. But Disney messed up once in that department too. The Santa Claus film mentioned 1-800-SPANK-ME as a joke about Scott Alvin's ex-wife. But as it turns out, this was an actual hotline that children attempted to dial. Wouldn't want to be a Disney employee on the receiving end of an angry parent, that's for sure. They tried to remedy this by changing the hotline to 1-800-POUND in the DVD release for the film, but the damage was done. No one's gonna talk about the joke itself being a little problematic, huh? Up next, family fights at Disneyland. Unfortunately, Disneyland isn't that big, and given the number of families that visit, the employees have seen their fair share of wild fights. With all the pressure, the constant singing, and the misbehaving children, employees have also had to call security if they see a domestic situation getting out of hand. Phew, it can't be easy being an employee at Disney World. And now, historically accurate bathrooms. At the parks, you'll hear a lot about narrative and attention to detail, including amazing tidbits at Disney World's Magic Kingdom about historically authentic restrooms, or the lack thereof. To be specific, Liberty Square was modeled after colonial times, when there was no running water. Because there would have been no bathrooms back then, the ones in Liberty Square have been put back, way back, so far back that they're in separate countries. Hopefully, you won't have to go too badly when you're exploring that area. Maybe Disneyland isn't exactly the best place on Earth. And here's some more Liberty Square restroom trivia. The wavy channels in Liberty Square symbolize the wastewater that would have flowed during that time period. Hopefully that isn't actual toilet water. Next up, secret sexual innuendos? Okay, so the kids won't get it anyway, but for the adults sitting through a Disney movie, you might want to look at them a little more closely, because Disney likes to slip in a sexual innuendo or two. Sid's toy, Legs, in Toy Story, is actually meant to be a hooker, because you know, the half fishing rod, half doll legs. That's not all though. If anyone remembers that scene in Hercules when the River Guardian was smacked in the head with a horseshoe after striking Meg, Hercules arrives to avenge her honor, and the beast gets walloped by his own horseshoe after a scuffle. The welt that followed was undeniably phallic looking, especially given that his forehead already had a suggestive crease line that looked just like a pair of balls. And now, the hidden Mickeys. Okay, so this one was a little weird. Apparently, Disney World employees have a running scavenger hunt for all visitors to find Mickey Mouse hidden in different places throughout the park. Imagine discovering a Mickey Mouse in the toilet. Guests with keen eyes can find hidden Mickeys, unique forms of Mickey Mouse's round head with two smaller round ears in everything from paintings to fountains to rocks. Keep a lookout for some the next time you visit one of the parks and see how many you can spot. And no cheating. Things clearly identified to be shaped like Mickey, such as Mickey waffles or ice cream, don't count. Up next, Gaston the Terrible in Beauty and the Beast. So this little little piece of information only added to what we already knew about Gaston, just being an overall bad guy. In Beauty and the Beast, it was a bleak moment when Murder the Beast singer Gaston finally went by the wayside, as in, he was pushed off the Beast's cliffside castle after attempting to storm it and kill Belle's captor turned true love. But when you examine it carefully, it becomes even more horrifying. Fans of the 1991 animated masterpiece will recall that in the last act, Gaston fought Beast on the castle's roof, but was easily defeated and forced to submit. But as soon as he had the opportunity, he really stabbed Beast in the back, and Beast reflexively shoved him, killing Gaston. A pair of skulls can be seen flashing in his pupils in this close-up of his eyes. Obviously, Disney removed this little detail from the VHS version, but it's still there in the DVD ones. Not the fluffy world of our childhood after all, is it? And now, the stars and stripes in Disney World. As it turns out, Disney really is another world, because if you stroll along Main Street, USA, at the Magic Kingdom, you'll notice a big display of patriotic American flags. Or do they? On closer inspection, it appears that the majority of the flags are missing a few stars or stripes. Why, you may ask? Disney isn't required to observe US flag laws, such as lowering the flag to half-mast for certain occasions, because it isn't a regulation. There is, however, a proper flag at the Walt Disney World entry. Next, recycling the animatronics in Disney World. Let's face it, Disney might be a big shot animation house in the world, but they love saving on money, and nowhere in this is more obvious than in the animatronics at Disney World. Animatronics from closed rides and attractions are frequently repurposed in new ones. Many of the Seven Dwarfs, for example, were repurposed in the Seven Dwarfs Mine train roller coaster after Snow White's Scary Adventures was closed, and it's rumored that if you look closely at the people in Epcot's spaceship Earth, some may look awfully familiar to a president from the Hall of Presidents. Can't really hold that one against Disney. Who wouldn't prefer recycling over constructing entirely new statues? And now, the basketball court in the Matterhorn. Okay, so this one came as a bit of a surprise. A hidden attic-like area with a basketball hoop and floor markings may be found at the top of Disney's Matterhorn bobsleds ride. The hidden Disney chamber began as a rest stop for Disney personnel climbing the mountain, then evolved into a little half-court when one worker brought a basketball hoop when the weather prevented staff from climbing. Up next, Tower of Terror screams. So has this ever happened to you? You're strolling up to the stomach-churning Tower of Terror roller coaster at Hollywood Studios when you hear blood-curdling screams and talk yourself out of taking the plunge. Or is that just us? We know you heard the cries even if you didn't back out, since they were part of a taped soundtrack played over concealed speakers. Those are apparently our own cries, captured and replayed. Well, that sounds like a riot. And now, the compass of Disney World. If you've ever asked a cast member where to locate anything in a Disney park, you've almost certainly been shown the way with the notorious Disney point, which combines the index finger and middle fingers. According to the theory, pointing with your index finger may be misinterpreted as disrespectful by some guests. While this is correct, there's another purpose for this specialized finger point in Disney parks. According to legend, historical photographs show Walt Disney pointing to various attractions while holding a cigarette between his two fingers. However, when the corporation wished to distance itself from smoking, it allegedly photoshopped the cigarette out of his fingers in photographs. Now it appears that Disney was always pointing folks on the correct path. And lastly, secret language of cast members. You're certainly aware that there's a lot going on behind the scenes at Disney World, but you might not be aware of the hidden jargon used by cast members to inform colleagues about ride troubles, major accidents, and other disasters. A code P indicates that someone accidentally urinated in the park, whereas a code V indicates vomit. And that's a wrap for this video. Which secret was the most surprising? The cemetery bit or the fact that the cast members have their own secret language? Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.